You know, a lot of people tell me, they're like, hey, I never see your show anymore. You still do it. What do you think that is, Juice? Like, do you still get notified? You do get notified? Like, while I'm looking, I still...
Late.
Okay. Well, see, I didn't get a notification, but I'm on here. Good Wednesday morning. Man, my days are all mixed up. It's hard for me to tell where we are, what day it is, but I know it's Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. On Wednesday, we also have Real Estate 101. I might be doing that today. It depends on who is around. But if you're on here, do me a huge favor. Like, comment, share the stream. You know the drill, friend. Help me out. As always, we begin the show with 60 seconds of gratitude, where I always force myself to get into something that I'm very thankful for. Is there anybody in here right now that could say what they're thankful for?
The fight.
The fight. The fight. Have you ever seen Every Which Way But Loose? You need to watch that. It is an old show. I bet Van has watched it. Have you ever watched it, Van?
Yeah.
Did you like it?
I can't remember it that much. I know I have.
For some reason, my thing freezes up whenever I click on it. Yeah, it's... I just don't know what the problem is.
They're really trying to mess with it. They're trying to take your money.
You can start and stop it.
Well, I don't want to stop it. I want to just keep on rolling. Good morning, Remy. Thank you for getting on here. Josh is thankful because he's a boxer now, and his fight, it's back on. He's ready to get in the ring. Let's get it on.
Ready to tussle.
The man is ready for a tussle. Good morning, Wendy Sweeney from Santa Rosa Beach. What is the weather like down there? I'm assuming it's pretty chilly down there. If you're looking for a home to buy in the Panhandle, I always refer my buddy Wendy Sweeney. We got your listings the other day. One of these days, we're going to buy something down there. One of these days, Josh. I'm going to use my friend Wendy. What I'm thankful for. Well, here's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that we're going to put our house on the market, and we're going to move, and we're going to build a house. That's kind of like my dominant focus right now, is getting over there to that other side of town. How am I going to like that drive from over there all the way across town? Am I going to like that?
You're going to like it when you're sitting there with all your buddies.
What if I don't have any buddies? What if I build this house and I have no friends come over, Cam? How would that be?
I think you're going to be a little upset. Go golf by yourself.
Well, I was thinking this morning, how many times do I want to play golf next year? I actually was calculating it. So if I could start, let's just say from March through October, conservative. If I played twice a week, I should be able to get 65 rounds in next year. One of my goals is to play 65 rounds of golf next year.
It's a good goal.
That is a good goal. Thank you, Jish. But next year, I'm going to talk about something else. It's part of today's show. The problems with business. How do I word it, Van?
Owning a business and its problems.
Owning a business and its problems. What does that look like? So my wife's not on here. I think she's she's probably working out, or she's probably done by now. But one of the things I really struggle with, and a lot of the topics that I talk about on here, it's things that I'm going through. So whenever we own two companies now, looking to acquire another one. Tell you about it later, Josh. But we have a real estate team, and me and John own a mortgage company. And all those things that they started with an idea, a vision, and like this year, I said, we're going to do this, this, and this. Well, those things didn't happen. But because I had those expectations, whenever I'm at home, owning the business and its problems, the home life is where I really struggle. And what I mean by that, businessman, what I mean by that is whenever I'm thinking about work and I'm with my wife, we're watching TV, or we're at dinner, or we're doing something, where do you think my thoughts are? Where do you think this is something that I really struggle with? Probably because I haven't had enough exposure to it, haven't gone through it enough. Like John, he probably very rarely struggles with thoughts like this. He can probably be present here, remove it, and go home. Why do you think it's easier for him to do it?
The experience and longevity he's been through it.
Yeah, well, I think he's got more certainty things are going to work out. He's made a lot more money. He makes a lot more money. So I'm sitting there and my wife's talking to me and I'm staring at her. She's talking to me. And she can tell if I'm present or if I'm not present. So she could be talking about whatever subject. In her moment, that is the most important thing that we could be talking about. Where am I? What am I struggling with? Who's right or who's wrong in these situations? Well, who's right or wrong? I mean, is there a right or wrong?
Yeah.
Is there?
I think so.
What? Who's right or wrong? Van, I'll let you go first, then Josh can go. Who's right? Who's wrong?
No, neither are right or wrong. I mean, it's just a natural outcome of how you're thinking. I mean, you're thinking about how you'll pull all this together and make it all work, and she's got a whole different emotion about it.
Okay, that's a good point, Van. For once, you made a good point in there. What would you say?
I don't think there is a right or wrong.
Well, now you're copying Van.
I believe that.
Well, we're going to shut you down. You can't agree. You can't take his answer.
I think you're wrong because I'm a victim of it too.
I'm wrong. What do you think? See, I wish my wife was on here because we talk about this with our
Are you
therapist.
talking about like whenever let's just say you're having a conversation?
Well, it's just hard to be present whenever, like, I'm sitting here and I'm wanting to do these things and they're not happening.
Yeah.
I feel like such a failure. I'm very disappointed, and I'm thinking, how do we fix this?
Yeah.
But in the middle of it, she's talking to me. What is she talking about?
Hair.
She's talking about her day.
Yeah, shit like that.
She's talking about what she'd like us to go do.
But that's the way I look at it is the commitment you made whenever, and this is me too, like with the commitment I made whenever I want to be a boyfriend, whenever you want to be a husband or shit like that, it comes with other things, you know? So that's why I say you're wrong. I'm not saying that it's a bad
Well, enough of your shit, Josh. What do you say?
I think it's just whoever you want to be right.
Who do you think?
I think that no one's wrong, but if you don't have those thoughts, then you might not propel you guys into the place that you want to be anyways.
Good morning, Santina. Thank you for getting on here. Okay, so here's what my therapist has taught me, and I struggle with this because I don't like to go home and talk about all this stuff. I don't like to leave here and talk about it, but I love to go home and think about it. Mm-hmm. So here's what the therapist says. How is it fair to her to understand what you're dealing with if you're not even talking to her about it? Like, I'm sitting here and like I get really, really stressed out if there's no money coming in. Am I frozen? I get really, really stressed out when there's no money coming in. But guess who I talk to about it? I talk to Van about it, or Weatherman. I don't talk to her about it. Why do I not want to talk to her about it?
You feel like she doesn't want to. You feel like she doesn't want to talk about things you guys said.
Well, she
Because
probably.
she'll relate to it.
She might respond not how you.
I think she would want to talk about it. That's what our therapist says. No, she would want to know about this. Why don't you share this with her so she can share with you? Why? So she can be with you through this. But I don't want to go home and be like a little bitch every night complaining, because over the last 4 or 5 months, I got a lot of shit to complain about. I could actually go home every night and bitch and complain about something. I don't go home and bitch and complain about it, but I go home and I'm not really present because I got all these things going on in my mind, all these fears, all these doubts. And I'm sitting there like a zombie. I'm looking like Edward most of the time. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Edward, you look a little better today. Does he look a little better today?
He looks good.
But Sam Gordon says he can totally relate. So today I'm going to give you a little input if you're a man. Here's what you can do to overcome these things. Sam, do you share this with your wife? Do you tell her anything? Because your wife cannot be a benefit if she has no information. Your wife cannot help you, or your girlfriend, she can help you if she has no inside information. I don't want to tell my wife because I don't want her to worry. But in the meantime, I'm sitting there kind of a basket case thinking, damn, is Josh going to get this deal together? What about Cameron? Are those people going to back out over that radon test? I'm sitting there thinking, and then I'm like, well, what happens? What happens if that $3,000 doesn't come into the company? What's that going to look like? Am I going to be able to, how much longer can I just keep pulling off that credit line? I start thinking about those things. But I don't bring her in there. Hey, my wife goes and uses our card. and Van ain't checking that account, guess what happens to the card?
Maxes out.
It's declined. Guess who has to hear that? My wife's in there, and in this account, we've got this one account that we both use. Well, she uses it. So we don't put a lot of money in there. You know why? It gets spent. So it's like this little allowance over there. So she'll use it, and hopefully, what's up, Blake, Amanda, thank y'all for getting on here. So she puts this card in there, and hope it's like every time she puts that card in there, she's got anxiety. And yesterday, I think she finally had enough. So I called up Van. We're just going to probably have to do something to where she has more access. But most people don't talk to their spouses about these things or their significant other. One of the things I've got to do a much better job of is getting me and her on the same page with problems. Because it's hard for me to connect because of all these problems I've got bundled up in my own mind. I've got all these fears. And she doesn't even know about them because I don't tell her about them. So I'm sitting here. All she can see is a guy that's not paying attention to her. And she's right, because I'm just like drowning in problems that may not even happen. Fear. Blake says, I need that black Amex card. Well, there's a reason why she ain't getting that black. My wife is actually pretty frugal. She wouldn't spend a lot of money, but we're not going to give her we're not going to tempt her with something like that. Blake, do you and your wife talk about every bit of your problems in your business? Or do you go home and do you just sit there and eat them yourself? You don't talk about them. Do you talk to Zena about anything?
I'm getting better at it.
Are you?
I had the same problem. She'd get mad about something. Or no, I'd get mad at her about something, and she'd be like, well, what's wrong? And I'd tell her the problem. She's like, why didn't you tell me? And I'd say, well, you didn't ask. Whenever it's really my job to tell her instead of her having to ask.
Well, another thing we don't like to do is we like to think about them, but we don't like to address them. Like I would rather sit there and just think about them myself. Now, if I put them out there to you, now I got to confront it again. So maybe sometimes I want to sit there and stare and think about all these things that could go wrong, being fearful if I bring them out here now, it's on the table and we got to discuss. Does that make sense? What are you doing, Edward?
I'm just looking at how these lights were put up.
That is a deep thought. Blake says, some problems we discuss, some I just stew in. I'm a stew guy, man. I like to just sit there and think about them. But what problems it causes is how disconnected we become. And then the next thing is when the problem is revealed later, she's upset because I didn't tell her about it. So if you're a guy and you own your own business, or if you're a woman and you own your own business, if you want help, if you want somebody that's an advocate that can help you get through this, if you want empathy, if you want solution, maybe a good idea is like, well, let's talk about this. Let me tell you what's going on. So sometimes my wife has great ideas. Sometimes I haven't given her enough information to where she can give me a good response. That's my fault. But I do know this. I've got to work on being more connected, talking about what's going on. Or the other option is this. Quit letting everything bother you. Quit letting, because all these things bother me. I feel like I'm in constant fear of failure. Von Grafton, shut us down.